Hello everyone, welcome to the classes. I am Ekanshi Pal and this is the second chapter in the C programming language tutorial. In the first chapter, we covered the installation and introduction part of the IDE and a compiler. In this chapter, we are going to write our first program. We will learn about variables, data types, and finally a program to add two numbers. First, we will start with our basic Hello World program, which will print the message Hello World to the output window. Through this program, you will learn the basic and important thing for writing any C program. This is the Hello World program. I will show you step by step writing onto the VS Code. So let's move to our VS Code. And I've created a hello world.c file using this icon. So we will write our first code. You can also follow along and write along with me. Hash include stdio.h. This is going to be the first statement. Then int main bracket curly braces for defining the main block. Inside that block, write printf bracket and inside double quotes whatever message you want to print. Hello world. Now semicolon. Then return 0 semicolon. So our first program is completed. You can run this program using this run code icon or using the terminal, like I have shown in the first video. We will use this run code icon to run a program. So just click on this run code icon and you will see your program will start running and it will print the message hello world to the output window. So our message hello world is printed on the output window. Now we will see bit by bit what all these statements means. So the first statement that we wrote was the hash include stdio.h. I will show you what all the statement means. So the first statement that we wrote was hash include stdio.h. stdio.h is called a header file. Now what is a header file? A header file is a library file that is provided by a programming language which contains predefined functions and macro definitions which the programmer can directly use. So stdio.h is like you can understand it's like a library file and it contains some predefined functions which you can directly use. You can include any header file into a program depending upon what you need, what functions you need. Like you need some mathematical functions, so you can include hash include math.h. These are some basic header files and they have predefined functions in them and you can directly use them. You can include these header files using the hash include statement. In this stdio.h, there are two very important functions defined which you will need in every program, which is the printf function and the function for taking input from the user. So the printf function which we used in this program was defined actually in this header file. So that's why we have to include this stdio.h header file in every C program. Now main function. This is the main function. Main function is a predefined function and it is the start of the program. So whatever things are being executed in a program, they are not written anywhere like randomly anywhere. They are written inside some function and those functions get executed. So whatever thing we have to do using a program, you have to write those things inside some function, and the main function that get executed while we run our program, the compiler the compiler understand which block to execute. So the function which get executed is the main function. So this is the most important function, and for every C program you have to include main function inside your program. This is a predefined function, but in further the series, I will show you to write your own functions and how to execute them. Second one was printf statement. Printf statement is also a function. It can be considered as function because it is printing the statement to the console window. The syntax is simple: printf and in brackets inside double quotes statement which is to be printed. The statement which you write inside these double quotes get printed as it is, like hello world. If you have written in caps, it will get printed in caps. So the statement which you write in double quotes get printed as it is. So printf statement is a predefined function used to print an output on the console. It is predefined in the stdio.h header file. So we have understood all the basic things which you included into the program hello world. The last thing which we wrote was this return 0 statement. Further, when we will cover the functions topic, I will tell you what this return 0 means. Basically, it means that if your program is successfully executed, then the system will get a 0 in return, and that means that your program has executed without any glitch. If it is executed with any glitch or there's some error while executing this main block, so you will get some random value that the program executed with this value. But if it is executed fine, then your program will return 0, which indicates your program has successfully run. So these were the basic things which are included in every C programs. Now let us move to variables. Variables in C language are just as same as variables in maths or you have done in algebra. So variables can be considered as the memory locations which contain some value. In programming, you save some values inside the memory locations. For accessing those values, you can use the memory address, but accessing them using the memory address is very difficult. So what you do is that you give the memory location some name, some simple name like x, y, or variable name. So memory location can be considered as a container, and variables can be considered as the name of those relations, name of those containers, and you can use the variable name to access the value which is contained in those containers. The variables can also change value just like math. You can assign some value a to them. You can assign some value 10 to a variable. The value of the variables can change. Here a is holding the value 10, b minus 12, and c 1.25. We can assign a is equal to 11. We just need to write a equal 11. Then a will contain the value 11. So the value of the variable can change. Now let us look at data types. What are data types? Each variable can hold a particular kind of value. For example, a is holding the value 10. So a is a variable which can only hold the integer values. How is that decided? Also, the compiler needs to know how much maximum memory space the variable will occupy. How does the compiler know that? That is all done by the data type of the variable. This is all specified by adding a data type during variable declaration in the program. Now what are data types? In C language, there are 4 primitive data types. There are furthermore, but we generally use these 4 only. So the first one is int, which stands for integer. Second is char, which stands for character. Third is float, which stands for floating point or decimal numbers. And lastly, double. Double means large floating point. Double means large floating point numbers. These are the 4 data types in C language. These are primitive data types. That means they are already defined by the language. We can also define our own data types, and we will see how to do that in further the course. So, as suggested by the name itself, int variable will hold integer values. Char variable will hold character values like alphabets, single alphabets, capital A, capital B, capital C, or special characters like star, space, plus, minus, semicolon, commas, like this. Character variable can also hold integer values from 0 to 9. Float variables will hold decimal numbers like 25.67, like this. Double will hold large floating point numbers. Float has the limit of storing the variable up to a range. If we need a larger space for storing the variable, we will use double data type. If the number which we want to store is a very large floating point number, we will use double data type. Now, how much size does these data types occupy? So there are bits 0 and 1. So 1 byte is equal to 8 bits, like 8 times we have written 0 1 0 1 0 1, that is 1 byte. So integer variable hold 4 bytes of space, that means 32 bits, and using those 32 bit combination of 0 and 1, we can actually make integer variable, we can actually make a number as large as this and this. So integer variable can hold from this range to this range. Now character variable, char is of size 1 byte, that means 8 bits, 8 0 and 1. So it can hold from the range -128 to 127. Float has a size same as integer 4 bytes, that means 32 bits. It can hold the floating point numbers from this range to this range, and double can hold the value up to this range, from this range to this range and double is of size 8 bytes, that means 64 bits. So using the combination of the 64 bits, we can actually make a number up to this, from this range to this range. So double can hold from this range to this range. That was about double. So it can hold a pretty much large value and up to a very small value. Next, variable declaration. How to declare variable in our programs. There are some rules which we have to follow while declaring any variable in the program. First of all, the syntax for variable declaration. The syntax is, first you have to mention the data type, which can be int, float, char or double, then the variable name. It's very simple, like we have declared a variable. You can do the initialization during the declaration only, like this. In this example, int num is equal to 10. So I have given the value 10 to the variable num. So I have declared the num. Also during declaration, I have initialized it too. That means I have given some value to that variable. You can do it differently, like you can first initialize it, you can first declare it, like I have done in this example. I have declared a variable a. In next step, like in any other line of the program, I have initialized it. That means I have given some value to the variable. Likewise, you can do for char or float or for double. So these are the example of how to declare your variables and how to initialize them during the time of declaration or anywhere in the program. Now there are some rules which we have to follow while giving the variable names. We cannot give any variable names. Like I have given num here, it works fine. Demo1, it works fine. But we cannot give any random variable name. We have to follow some steps. So the steps which we have to follow: variable name should only contain letters, numbers and one special character. It is only allowed that variable name can contain letters and numbers, and it can contain only one kind of special character, which is the underscore. Variable name cannot contain any other kind of special character. So like in this example, I have f1 underscore value. So it is a correct and valid variable name. It will work. But if I write like f1 space value, it will be wrong. It will not be the correct declaration of a variable name. So next, what we have to keep in mind is that variable name should not start from a number or an underscore. It should start from a letter only. Capital letter or small letter. It can start from capital letter or small letter, but it should not start from a number or underscore. Like here in this example, I have written demo1. It works fine. But if you write one demo, it will not be a correct variable name. It should start from an alphabet. Third, variable name cannot contain spaces. I have told you already that variable cannot contain any special character other than underscore. So it cannot contain any space, any star or like that. It can only contain underscore as a special character. It's your wish. You want to include underscore also or not. You can just initialize it, like declare it like num, simple variable name, or demo1 using only letters and numbers. But if you want to include a special character, you can include only underscore. So this was about how to declare variable and also how to initialize them. So we have completed all about variables, data types, and we have also written our first program. Now we will write our second program, which is to add two numbers using variables. So let's switch to VS Code, and in this C tutorial folder, which was previously made, I will create a new file using this, and I will create a new file using this icon, and I will name it sum.c. So you can write code along with me, and you can get a practice of writing the program. So first we will write #include stdio.h. We have included the header file. Then we will declare the main function, int main. Then we will take int a. First I have taken a variable, and I will initialize it. I will not take for this program, I will not take the value from the user. We will do it in further. So initialize it on my own directly here. It will be a hard code. It will not be the value is taken from the user. It will be hard coded. So for this program, you just have to understand how to declare variable and how to write a simple program. Next, we will declare a variable b. You can initialize it like int b is equal to 20, or you can initialize it in next line like this. Now what we will do, we will initialize a sum variable. We do not know what the value will be, so we will just declare it like int sum. We will not give any value to the sum. Now to add the variable, simply you just have to use the plus operator, and you have to store it in sum, and you can just print your sum equal to, you can just print your sum equal to some variable. Now for this printf statement, I have used some format specifier like %d and variable. So in further videos, I will tell you what it is. You can understand what it means and what specifier to use for which. So simply for this, you have to understand, like, whatever you write in double quotes, it get printed as it is. But if you want to print a variable value, so you will use what? For an integer variable, you will use %d. So where in the printf statement where you have written %d, it will be replaced by the variable which you have, by the value of the variable which you have written after the comma. So for integer variables, we use %d. For float, we use %f, likewise. So anywhere in the printf statement where you have written %d, it will get replaced by the value of this sum function. Okay, in further video it will be more clear to you. Now return 0. So that's it. That's a program. You can run it using the terminal or using the run code button. I have shown you how to use the run code button in the previous program, so we will use the terminal for now. You can use the simple run code button also and the terminal one also. So I will show you the terminal one. The terminal, and just go to new terminal, and this partial window will open, and here you have to write sum.gcc sum.c. So this is the command for compiling your program. First gcc and then your program name, and then enter. Your program will get compiled first, and an executable file will be created which you will run to run your program. So our program has successfully compiled. Now we will execute our program, and we got the sum as 35, which is the correct output because we have added 15 and 20, which is 35. So this was all for this video. In this video, we learned about variables, data types, and how to write simple programs. And thank you for watching. And if you have any doubt regarding the tutorial, you can just comment it down, and we will try to resolve your query. And thank you for watching, and subscribe to the classes.